Update. I don't want my sister-in-law to come to our vacation, and now she claims I shamed her. I don't think you can shame someone who is incapable of being ashamed of her actions, even after people pointed them out to her. Original post. A couple of years ago, my brother met his now wife Susan, 33 female, and started bringing her to our events. Our family has a cabin that we use every year for a one-week family vacation. Normally, it used to be our parents, my husband and me and my brother, but for the last 2 years Susan has also joined us. This year, I refuse to go if Susan is present, and my parents want me there, so Susan is no longer invited. On to why I don't want Susan to come with us? The short answer is that she is disgusting. She doesn't have any kind of hygiene, and every vacation with her was a nightmare because she can't act like a normal human being. Some examples of what has happened so far. She stinks, plain and simple. How my brother can tolerate her smelling the way she does is beyond my understanding, but the rest of us have a hard time being around her. The reason she stinks is that she is against deodorant. She uses items that don't belong to her without asking and without informing anyone afterward. Last year, I left my and my husband's towels to dry in the sun after our morning showers. Around noon, I went to take the towels back to our room and noticed they were soaking wet, which couldn't be possible since they had literally stayed in the sun all morning. When I asked if anyone knew what happened, Susan said she had taken a shower and used them. It's a miracle she showered, but I don't share towels with anyone except my husband, so the towel went straight to the bin. She acted offended that I threw it out and said there was no need to act like she had a plague. I told her there's also no need to use things that don't belong to her. I don't care what she does or doesn't have. It's not okay to use other people's things without permission. She doesn't clean the toilet after using it. So we've all found period blood and poop left in the bowl when we needed to use the bathroom. She also doesn't wrap her tampons before throwing them in the bin. Her reason every time is, I forgot. I've seen her multiple times drinking juice or milk straight from the bottle. She forgets that we don't want to share saliva with her, and that this habit is disgusting. She uses her hands to mix ingredients without washing them first. She once made a salad and mixed everything together in the bowl with her dirty hands. When we talked to my brother about all of this, he always made excuses for her. His main justifications are that she has autism and that she grew up poor, so we need to be understanding of her. I am not. Poverty is not an excuse to stink and be dirty. Poverty and autism are not excuses for not cleaning the toilet after you use it, especially when there's a brush right there for that exact purpose. I guess my brother told her why she's not invited, and she confronted me, crying that I am shaming her. So I told her that if, by this age, she is incapable of feeling ashamed by her own behavior, then there's a very slim chance I, or anyone else, can ever shame her in any way. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Your brother is, for blaming autism for her behavior. One thing I've found autistic people are normally very good at is understanding direct instructions. Like, please wash your hands before touching food, and please don't use my things without asking. And, you have to make the toilet look clean before you leave the room. I can understand that deodorant might be difficult from a sensory perspective, although I've found the cream ones suit me. However, if you don't use it, you need to clean yourself more often so you don't have body odor. As someone on the spectrum, how much it would have helped to have those instructions directly. Everyone sucks here. I understand it is not nice that sister-in-law is smelly, but I also think you were unnecessarily harsh. You didn't have to throw the towel away, like it was permanently contaminated. You could have said, I don't share towels, so I'm going to put this in the wash. Please don't use my stuff again without asking. I understand sister-in-law's hygiene habits are not acceptable, and you shouldn't have to put up with dirty toilets or badly prepared food, etc. However, I feel there could have been more effort to kindly educate her and see if it made any improvement before outright rejecting her. You don't know what struggle she has had, or whether she has had enough support growing up with a neurodiverse disadvantage. I suspect you didn't like the change dynamic of a new person in the mix on your family vacay and were quick to find fault and go overboard on the criticisms. This is someone your brother cares about and who might be a long-term part of your family. and you've already hurt and embarrassed her. Not ideal. Why do I have to educate her on very basic things, like don't use my freaking towel to dry your butt? Don't drink directly from the bottle when multiple people are using that product? Should I also explain to her she is not to use my underwear? I am sorry, but she is an adult. I don't have to educate an adult how to behave in society. Now for the update. Thank you all for your feedback on my last post. After yesterday, I was left with mixed feelings. On one hand, I'm happy to see that there are still normal people around who value cleanliness and hygiene. On the other hand, I was sad to see how many nasty people we have around us. Someone put it very well. Shame should become a thing again, because maybe by feeling ashamed, some people will start acting normally and stop expecting the rest of society to put up with disgusting habits. To go on the internet as an adult and claim that a 33-year-old woman must be shown and taught basic things, like cleaning a toilet seat after getting it dirty, is unreal. Just a personal thought, but I'll share it here. Not everyone learns everything at home or is taught all the social standards, but each and every one of us is responsible for educating ourselves if that education didn't happen in our early years. Meaning, your parents may not have explained why hygiene is important, but as an adult, you have all the means to learn on your own. Those who say, "My parents didn't teach me this, so I don't know," are just lazy and ignorant. If you have a phone and internet access to waste time writing nonsense on Reddit, you can clearly use those tools to Google or watch tutorials on how to manage your period, handle sanitary products, or clean up after yourself. That being said, my family and I are leaving tomorrow to go to the cabin. My brother will join us, but Susan will not. He'll probably give us more details in the coming days, but I guess he's also tired of his wife and her inability to act like a normal human being. It's sad, and he's also to blame for how things turned out, for not putting a stop to her habits sooner. But for the first time in 2 years, we'll enjoy our family vacation, and my parents will have both their kids present without stress, disgust, or constantly cleaning up after an adult woman. For those who seemed unable to understand why my husband is still invited and my brother's wife is not, the answer is because my husband is not a pig, and because my husband did not leave period blood on the toilet seat, forcing my father to storm out and pee in the yard because he was too disgusted to use his own bathroom in his own cabin. I hope this clears up that absurd question, but if you need more graphic descriptions, I can provide them. And to those who are crying in a corner about how unfair it is that Susan is excluded, tough luck. Life is hard. Society will exclude you if you can't follow basic decent cues, because people don't owe you anything. And no, this doesn't come from a place of hate, as immature people would claim. It comes from a place of valuing boundaries and comfort. One last thing, I promise I'm not throwing any towels away this trip, since that seemed to be such a triggering topic for many of you. Keep calm. The towels are safe with me, I swear. People underestimate how exhausting it is to clean up after someone who refuses to act like an adult. You're not being harsh. You're being real about what you can and can't tolerate. I know people act like it is our job to act like her maids or clean after her, which is insane. And I really wonder, where is this all coming from? Maybe these people are just like her and expect others to clean after them. Who knows? If you're old enough to debate on Reddit, you're old enough to Google how to clean up after yourself. It's wild that this even needs to be said, but here we are. Yeah, exactly my point. But it's easier to expect others to do the job for you instead of taking ownership of your own life. It also begs the question, what is she teaching her children in terms of personal hygiene? She may not have been taught, but she has a responsibility to ensure she doesn't pass her own failings onto her children. Praise the Lord they don't have any kids. It would be horrible if they did. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that I'm not going to give her son a gift just because it's his turn? My sister-in-law, my partner's brother's wife, has a 10-year-old son, and lately, she has started a habit of telling the whole family that it's her turn to get a gift every time someone else has a birthday or something special. Last week was my daughter's birthday, and we bought her a toy she had wanted for months. When my sister-in-law came to the house with her son, the boy asked, "And what do I get?" and his mom very calmly said, "Yes, you should give him something too, so he doesn't feel left out." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. But no, she was serious. She told me that it's only fair, that if a child sees another child get something, he should get a small gift too. I told her that I disagreed and that I'm not going to raise my daughter thinking that the world owes her something every time someone else celebrates something. She got really upset and told me I was being cruel to a child. But honestly, I think that just reinforces a selfish attitude. My partner is supportive, but her brother is now upset too and says we could have at least given him something symbolic, like candy. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to give gifts to my sister-in-law's son every time someone else celebrates something? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Is the boy named Dudley Dursley by any chance? Only 37 presents. That's less than last year. Not the a-hole. They're raising an entitled spoiled brat who is going to go through life thinking that he is owed something every time anyone else has something good happen to them. Every wedding, every birthday, every holiday is going to be all about him. And if it's not, he's going to throw a tantrum because mommy told him he's super special and everyone else has to worship the ground he walks on. No, we're not going to give him something symbolic or anything else. If you want to teach your son that the world revolves around him and make him an entitled spoiled brat who thinks he's owed something and tries to make every event about himself, that's your problem. But we're not going to play into it or encourage it, and it's certainly not going to be happening in our house. You're delusional if you think that he deserves something every time anyone else gets anything. Are you going to give every other kid a gift at his birthday parties and make him share the spotlight, or is it only him who's owed the special treatment in your mind? Either way, not happening. Perfectly said. Why are people so entitled? Because of parents like this. Ridiculous. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not making amends with my mother after she called Child Protective Services on my wife? My entire life I have had a rough relationship with my mom. She was very hot and cold, either loved me or didn't speak to me. She cheated on my dad with the pastor of our church right before I went to college. I was devastated and temporarily cut her off, then moved 16 hours away to go to school. She divorced my dad and married my former pastor, and neither of us spoke to each other until a couple years later at Christmas. I had to come to her. She's never reached out to me. I stayed at college for another few years after we reconnected, but she still wouldn't come out to see me, even though my dad took the time to drive out several times, making sure each of my 5 younger siblings got to see me. My mom said she couldn't come to my college graduation even after I offered to pay for her flight. In the meantime, I had started dating a girl in college who I really liked. After I graduated, I took a job back in my home state, and she came with me, leaving her family 16 hours behind. We got married a year later and things seemed okay with my mom. My wife liked her, and they did things together, went shopping, went out to eat. I felt like even though my parents were divorced, things were finally calmer. Fast forward a few years later and my first child was born. My wife suffered from postpartum depression, and I honestly wasn't the most supportive husband. I complained about her to my family, giving up private details of her mental health that I should have never shared. She recovered around 6 months later, and a year after that, we decided to have a second child. My wife warned me she was at risk of PPD again, and we made a plan with her doctor to start medication as soon as our second baby was born. Again, I shared this information with my family, which I know now isn't okay, but my mom started giving me a lot of grief. She said my wife shouldn't be on medication. It was bad for her, bad for the baby. My wife was going to nurse. My mom was a nurse, so I assumed she knew what she was talking about, and this caused drama between me and my wife. The last couple of months of her pregnancy were rough because I was adamant, based on the information I got, that she shouldn't take medication. My wife didn't listen and took it anyway. This time she was fine, no PPD, but had a rough physical recovery. We ended up moving to a home we purchased that was an hour away from my family. I resented my wife for thinking she wasn't doing the safest thing for my kid, and my mom started to resent my wife because of the medication and the fact my wife didn't want to drive an hour each way to visit my mom with both the kids. My wife said my mom could come see her if she wanted, but it was a lot for her to take both kids during the week to see my mom. She said they would nap in the car and then wouldn't sleep at night, which would mess up their schedules. We went to see my mom a couple of times with the kids on the weekends, but she was adamant that my wife bring them to her during the week. This caused more stress and drama and made me mad at my wife for seemingly not caring that she was ruining the relationship that I worked so hard to rebuild with my mom. This went on for about a year when my wife got a call from CPS. They said they needed to conduct an investigation based on allegations that were made. My siblings confirmed that my mom made the report and was also starting a smear campaign against my wife. When we met with a CPS worker, the allegations were outrageous. Some of them were based on my wife's PPD, which she only had with my first child, but others were flat-out lies. She said we were isolating our kids because we wouldn't come see her and locking our kids up in gates like cages. We literally had a playpen for our barely walking baby to keep him safe while my wife did chores. Anyway, she took anything true and exaggerated it into something awful. We had to go through the whole investigation process, which was traumatic for us, but in the end we're cleared of wrongdoing, and they labeled the report as a false allegation. Unfortunately, in that state, there weren't any repercussions for false reports, but our attorney advised us to cut contact to avoid future retaliation. This whole ordeal really opened my eyes to the sad truth that my mom is a full-blown narcissist. I kind of knew it before, but was in denial and really wanted things to work. We ended up cutting off my mom completely and moving to another state. Right before we left, I confronted my mom and told her if she wants to be in our lives, she needs to own up to her lies and apologize to my wife. She doubled down, saying she was concerned, and said my wife had problems and she would never apologize. It's now been 7 years, and my mom hasn't said a word. She sent her husband after me at a family wedding, telling me it's breaking her heart that I won't contact her. I told him she hasn't apologized to my wife, and his response is, "Oh, we don't care about that thing anymore." But my wife and I do. They have to be insane to think that we want people in our lives who could have had our children taken away. My siblings have been ganging up on me for years, saying that I need to be the bigger person and apologize. I, on the other hand, can't trust my mom and feel like she's too unhinged to welcome back into our lives, especially since she can't take any responsibility for lying. Am I the a-hole? You were a terrible husband and are lucky your wife stayed with you. You provided your mother with all the ammunition she needed to go after the person you should have been protecting. I am glad you are finally putting your wife first and protecting her peace. Continue with that. And do not let your mother anywhere near her or your children. If you let her back in, expect your wife to leave and take your children with her. This should be higher up. OP absolutely sucked as a husband, partner, and dad. Failed her all the way. And he still agreed to let his mom back into his family's life if the mom apologizes? Dude needs to grow a spine. You're the a-hole for how you treated your wife. You're lucky she's obviously forgiven you. I would have packed up my kids and myself and left your unsupportive butt so fast, and I would have gone straight to a divorce lawyer. OP clearly needs therapy to address his mommy issues. He was willingly hurting his wife to mend a bond with his mom, who basically abandoned him. That needs to be addressed. He's beyond lucky that woman is even still talking to him, kids or not. I didn't realize how much my family's toxic behavior had rubbed off on me. The reason I'm questioning everything now is I just recently lost my grandmother. It's making me feel like time will run out before I make amends with my mom, and my siblings are pushing me to do it as well. No matter how messed up the things my mom did are, she's still my mom and I love her. It's just a very painful situation,